Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching or listening to around the world. Another episode 6, or is it 7? 6 or 7? I don't know. I don't remember, of Hot Take. I'm joined by Mark Goldbridge. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Excited about the week ahead, obviously with United, but also tonight, PSG, Arsenal. Really excited to have. I think unless you've got a team in the FA Cup, it's boring. So the Champions League, I think, is different. You don't need a team in it for it to be exciting.
Yeah, the FA. I personally love the FA Cup. I just think you saw it this weekend. How, and I don't want to hear any nonsense about they schedule it weeks in advance. They always change games last minute. We've seen it recently. The semi-finals were only 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they moved Premier League games to midweek for it. There's a Premier League game this Thursday because of it. So it's like, why have you got Liverpool's triumphant win to win the league at the same time as a semi-final? That doesn't help either. It's awful scheduling. It always is. But
well, they've done it in a couple of weeks as well. They've moved the Premier League. Man United play Chelsea on Friday night, and then the rest of the Premier League games on Sunday, so we can have Man City against Palace on the Saturday. And to be honest with you, I don't need a clear Saturday to watch Man City probably win the FA Cup for the second time in 30 years. Like you can't force. It's like force feeding a child vegetables. Like you can't force me a tournament that's dying. And if you want it better, maybe listen to fans on how you make it better. Don't force feed us this shit.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The FA, again, it's like, no, I like the FA Cup. I think it needs bigger prizes. I think they need to find an investor. Because if there was sort of 20, do you remember that? I know the guy went to prison, right? So hear me out on the example.
It was a good start.
Yeah. I can't remember his name, but there was a cricket tournament that he put on where England, I want to say England played the West Indies. It could have been somebody else. And there was like a £25 million prize for the winner. And it made everyone tune in because that money was being spread amongst the players, everything else. Say they were able to find a sponsor, and I'm sure they could with all the money in the world. Elon Musk might do it. I don't know. Someone like that, where the winner got 30 million. I think people would care more because that would have a massive impact on your club moving forward. The fact is, the prize money is about £2 million. So even clubs that want the money over the success, if you gave more money to it, I think it would just make it a little bit more exciting.
Well, somebody said to me, Man United will earn more going to a stupid end of season double header in Asia than they would from winning the FA Cup. And that is incredible. And also, is this not just the problem with football these days? Fans are intelligent and they get told what to do and it annoys them. Like, why is the FA Cup semi-final being played at Wembley when it's a team from the Midlands and a team from Manchester? And also, why are we being told that it's the FA Cup and it's the oldest trophy in the world and you must enjoy it? Like you say, get some bloody backer in to make it 25 million if you win it, and I guarantee you teams won't put out their reserves. So easy solutions, but it's the old it's like mainstream media, isn't it? Oh, you've got to watch the BBC because it's the oldest TV corporation in the world. Yeah, I loved my bloody granddad. He ain't here anymore because things change. They don't go on forever. And the FA Cup needs to change massively. If they give me an email address, I'll send you some replies.
Yeah, look, it's someone here said the FA Cup ain't about money, Mark, you fraud.
No, and that's why it's dying. It's fucking dying in front of your eyes, you fraud.
Yeah,
I can play this game.
No, you've got to move with the times as well. And I think if you look, for instance, at boxing, the promoters have learned the UFC was killing them, and they've learned we can't be keeping all our fighters to ourselves, avoiding each other. You've had the Saudis come in, they pump money into it, and then making the fights happen that people want to see happen. And it's making boxing more enjoyable again. And I think that football has got to learn that. There's no doubt about it.
Just on that, finally, though, as well, Man City probably going to win this. Even their fans can't be asked to go to Wembley for it. And I don't blame them. I've got a problem with that at all. So don't tell me the FA Cup's thriving. The team that's probably going to win it can't be asked to turn up either.
Well, that brings us on to our first reaction. I mean, we may as well go to that as our first reaction now that it's come up. Obviously, we all saw the images that came out at the weekend. I'm going to put one up on the screen now. There was around 5,000 seats not sold by Manchester City for this, which Of course, there's caused a lot of friction, a lot of anger online. They're called out as fake fans. They don't care. City fans saying, well, it's, 30 trips in 15 years for us. You shouldn't be attacking the working classes. Here is, I think, the City Ramble talking about it. Let's take a little listen.
Angry about City fans not selling out their allocation. Direct that anger at the FA. Don't direct it at City fans, because this is what the 30th trip to Wembley Stadium since it opened for Manchester City. It's their 8th FA Cup semi-final in 9 seasons. It's expensive. It costs a lot. Travel, tickets, etc. It's just astonishing to me that the furore this brings up every single year. The novelty wears off when you're doing it year after year after year. It doesn't become a special occasion. You look at Forest, that was their first ever FA Cup semi-final at Wembley. They've joined the likes of Bolton, Wigan, Stoke City in that capacity, that have had, that big day out in a semi-final. That isn't to even sort of go on and then say, oh, these teams might make the final. If you're getting angry about it, it's probably because you don't do it at least once a season, twice a season.
What do you make of what he said there?
I think he's messed up bad there. There's no need to be arrogant. Like, that just comes across. I actually fundamentally agree that why should it probably costs 300-400 quid for a Man City fan to go from Manchester to there, and you're going to be back there in a month. So we're all human beings. You might just go, I'll just watch it on the TV. I'll take that risk. I get that, but the way he's come at it is, well, we're there every year. This, that, and the other. Mate, you only existed 20 years ago. Like, you weren't there every year until 2008, were you? So, you can't go from 2008 to 2025 and suddenly go, we're there every year. That's not, your big problem is the cost. And I agree with that. And your bigger problem is you don't have a big enough fan base. So if some of your fan base decide they're not quite rightly going to go, you end up with that shocking area in an FA Cup semi-final that some people who don't know football would go, I never knew Forest and Man City fans hated each other that much. They have to segregate them that much because it's huge. That gap's massive. What's going on? But I understand the ticket prices. I agree. I just think he comes across as really arrogant, because my response, he was getting my back up, because all I could think and wanted to say is, mate, you ain't got the fan base to fill that ground. That's your problem. Because if your hardcore fans go, up yours, we're not paying, which they should do, and I back them, you're going to end up with empty seats. Man United won't end up with empty seats, even if people say I'm not paying it. Liverpool won't end up with empty seats. And that's the thing. They haven't got the fan base to fill it when some of their fans quite rightly go, enough is enough. And that's Man City's problem as well. But I think they're right not to go. I do agree. It's ridiculous to go to Wembley and pay those prices. And the problem with that is, Man City don't have a big enough fan base to fill those seats if people say no.
And that's the bit. I'm a working class man, so I'm seeing a lot of the responses from the City Ramble, loads of City fans, Stefan Borson, basically saying, why are you mocking the working class for not being able to afford it?
100%.
And I think City, and I agree. I'm not mocking the working class. I think Man City fans, they've got a solid argument because of the amount of times they've gone and how ridiculously expensive it is. A lot of the hotel prices, because the London Marathon was on, were like £750 a night. It was a disgrace. So if, for instance, Mark from Stockport doesn't wish to go, I think everybody knows that's fine. Mark, working class man, can't afford to keep doing it. Everybody understands. But nobody's laughing at Mark from Stockport, who's working class. What people are laughing at is the fact that City claim that they're a massive club with colossal revenues and a global fan base that rivals Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man United, etc. Yet they still have those empty seats. It's not about mocking the working class, hardcore diehards that love their football club. It's the idea that when your revenues are at £1 billion and people ask honest questions, they're not being salty, and they say, how are you raising so much money? Why have you got these shirt sponsors that are worth so much compared to a Madrid or a United when your fan base is smaller? It's not smaller. It's gigantic. And then this happens. I know I've been to thousands of Man United. That's probably an exaggeration. Hundreds of United games. Nearly every game I've been to, either at Old Trafford, an away game, a European game, there are blokes there from America, all over Scandinavia, from the Middle East, Africa. They fly in every single game. So you are right. That's what I think that's why people are digging at City. And what they've done is, one, the arrogance of, well, we go all the time, it's not special to us. That's a terrible answer. It's not about attacking the working classes. It's just a little bit of a joke that you've still got a long way to go until you genuinely are as big as the Madrids, Barca's, United's, Liverpool's. I don't think we'd ever have this problem, even if we were at the Wembley 3 times a season on average. So I think for me, that was my takeaway from it. Definitely don't mock the working class, but it's not about that, in my personal opinion.
And I said on Sunday as well, if I was a City fan, I wouldn't be getting my back up like he has. He is definitely rattled. People say on my stream, Goldbridge is rattled. I'm not rattled. I'm just answering a question. He's rattled. Like, you can tell he's rattled because he's talking about how many times they go there and what a big club they are. If I was a Man City fan, I would say, look, we've won, because you're all talking about it. And that's a really big section empty because we said we're not paying the prices. So we've won. We've got our message out. It's really hard for Arsenal or Man United or Liverpool to get that message out. We had protests about the Glazers just recently about, staying in the ground afterwards, or, going in the ground a little bit late. Or, if United fans said, we're Glazers out, don't turn up, we'd still have 70,000 there because somebody will take those tickets. And that is why in that game on Sunday, if a few thousand Man City fans say, no, we're not going to pay, for some reason, they don't have a few thousand fans that will go, well, we'll go. So they clearly don't have the big fan base in the UK that they profess to have, which is fine.
Ian here says, revenue doesn't always mean size of fan base. I guarantee my club, Rangers fan base, is 5 times the size, being generous, only saying 5 times, but the revenues would dwarf ours. What you're doing there, though, is you're comparing an apple with an orange, because if Rangers were a Premier League team, I guarantee that within a space of 5 years, you would be catching up the big fan bases, the big clubs in the Premier League. The reason that your revenue isn't as high is you play in a league which is an inferior league to the Premier League in terms of the billions of eyes that watch it a weekend in comparison. And that there marks the point, my friend. That there marks the point. You have the size that you have a massive fan base, but because of the lack of eyes week in, week out watching your club, in terms of the global audience, brands are not going to spend the money for your shirt sponsors, stadium naming rights, arm sponsors, street sponsors. City have that advantage that they're in the Premier League, so there's more eyes on them, as an example. But if they truly are, the reasoning we always get given is, we've caught everybody up. We've got millions of fans around the world now. We're the same size as everybody else. That's why brands want to sponsor us. If that's the case, I think you would, like Rangers, you guys would always sell it out, because whether it's people based in Glasgow, London, New York or Sydney, you've got fans all over the world willing to buy those tickets. That's the only argument we're making here. So listen, I do
it's
not
negative,
blame.
Is it, Terry?
Yeah, it's not. It's just the truth of the matter.
Man City's fan base is big enough that if a few of them don't turn up, it sends a message. Whereas United, we can't send a message, because if people don't turn up, someone will take the ticket. And like Kind Olivia says, also revenue is not only about the size of fan base. No, it's not. It's about having owners that can use businesses to get sponsorships in illegally as well. It can be like that. And, maybe that's something going on. But ultimately, the semi-final should not have been at Wembley.
I agree with that as well. I agree with that. They should get it back. They should bring it back to what it used to be. They should do Villa Park. They should just work it based on who's in the semi-finals, if they can. If it's 2 London clubs, do it at Tottenham Stadium, do it at the Emirates. If it's 2 northern clubs, do it at Old Trafford or Anfield, Etihad. Yeah, absolutely. Start doing that to help. That should help the working class people, no matter what. Now,
speaking of the Etihad, they still wouldn't have filled it.
There are some nights when that happens as well, to be fair. Let's take a look here at what was said on Sky Sports about Manchester United. I want to get Mark's take on this. I want to get you, the viewers' take on this as well. Make sure, by the way, you've hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the Terrace as well. But let's take a little listen here to what Neville and Redknapp have got to say.
It's right, Jamie, that it's been a pretty much a free hit for Ruben Amorim. Remember, he didn't actually want the job until the summer.
Yes, I do. But I also think he has a duty of care to a certain extent, where we've analysed Manchester United. There's almost no more to say on them. We've had a go at the players, they're not good enough, and we've had a go at certain aspects of the way the club's run. Absolutely. But there also comes a time when you've got a duty as a manager to improve the players that you have. You can't just keep getting rid of players. Eddie Howe is probably the prime example of that. If you look at players like Joe Linton and you look at Jacob Murphy, if you had said a couple of years ago that they would be in a position that they are, playing incredible football, what Joe Linton's done, Jacob Murphy's on the verge of getting an England call up, you'd say, that's not possible.
But would you not say this is a conflated, congested squad that needs overhaul?
Yeah, it does need, but you also have to work with the players that you have. That's your responsibility, improving what you have. Because like Gary said, they can't all be totally useless.
I can't believe that's mainstream TV.
Yeah, that's on the mainstream media. Give me your thoughts on that, Mark.
I mean, I'm not a Newcastle fan here, right? But first of all, this is dangerous when you get people on a platform with millions of people being paid very good money. He should stick to selling trainers, right? He talks about Eddie Howe. I don't remember when Eddie Howe took the Newcastle job, but I remember when Saudis took over and Newcastle were going to get relegated. They spent money and suddenly they were in the Champions League. Now, Eddie Howe's done a very good job, but Newcastle were going to get relegated and then Saudis came in and obviously gave Eddie Howe the opportunity to do his job. And that's what Man United fans are saying about Amorim. He hasn't got, I mean, Jamie Redknapp lists off the owner. We've spoken about the owners. There's nothing more to say. We've spoken about the owners. We've spoken about the players. So now let's talk about the manager. No, let's go back to the owners and the players because they are the problem, Jamie. Just because you're bored of saying it doesn't mean it's not the problem. That is the problem. You can't come up with a new solution because you're bored of the real problem. And Ruben Amorim hasn't got a responsibility to get more out of players when he took the job knowing he was going to have to change the formation and change the players. You can't say 5 months later, now we'll change the rules now. Your job isn't to change the formation and bring your own players in. Now we want you to play a 4-3-3 that you've never done and work with the players you've got. And as for his responsibilities to develop players, the best striker in the world at the moment was taken from Coventry City and developed into the best striker in the world by Ruben Amorim. Give the guy a pre-season, give him money, then we'll judge him. Stop talking crap on Sky Sports News.
Do you know what I laughed about when I heard this? Is first of all, he said right at the end there, the last little second, he goes, you know, Gary Neville just said that all the players can't be totally useless. Well, all the players are not totally useless. Maz hasn't been useless this season. De Ligt's been excellent. Bruno has been put by even some journalists down as a player of the year in the Premier League. Journalists, nothing to do with Manchester United. Ahmad isn't useless as an example to individuals. So no Man United fan thinks every single player is completely and utterly useless. Equally, when you give the Newcastle example, they went out in the January after the takeover. They brought in Chris Wood in the January for 30 million euros. They brought in Bruno Gomes in that January for 42 million euros. They brought in Dan Burn and they brought in Kieran Trippier as well. So they went out and spent about 120 odd million pounds in that January. United, because of financial issues, rightly or wrongly, it doesn't matter whose fault for that for a moment. That doesn't help Amorim get the players that he needs. Yes, he has got the very best out of Joe Linton by moving him into midfield. Murphy's absolutely killing it. But again, he got rid of John Joe Shelvey. By the way, he got rid of Chris Wood about a year later. As an example, he got rid of Isaac Haydens. He got rid of Dwight Gow. They let him leave on a free. They allowed Darlow to leave. St. Maximum has gone. Elliot Anderson. Amorim's gone out on loan. Lloyd Kelly. And the point I was saying to people is this. It's like, hang on. So the example you give is a club that has spent some money, and rightfully so, it's theirs. They have got some players performing better that they inherited. They've bought loads of new ones, and they sold the players that weren't good enough. Man United fans are not asking for Amorim to not... We are not saying it's okay if every player goes backwards under him, we don't care. But what he said isn't even true. Some players are playing well for us. We will keep... Some of these players will be here in 2 or 3 years, and if the team improves, they'll get better along with it. It's absolutely crazy, because I don't think, by the way, Joe Linton and Jacob Murphy would have looked as good if Newcastle didn't get new owners and didn't improve the team overall. It's such flawed logic. No one's giving Ruben Amorim a free hit. You have. I've watched you. I have, because I know I said it. We've all criticised things he's done. It's just this weird double standard that Man United managers have to improve what they've got. But it's okay. Before he won his first trophy, for Pep to spend £500 million on a team that were Champions League semi-finalists the year before he came in. That's okay, £500 million in 2 seasons to win a trophy. Man United's manager, improve what you've got, or we're going to... And you know it's going to go the other way now. If we do spend $200 million in the summer and we're a better team, it won't be, look how well coached they are. It will be, yes, but he had to buy his way out of trouble. It's going to 110% happen.
But what makes me laugh as well is, like, we do this. We have communities who are watching it live all around the world, people who won't be watching it live. And if we get one thing wrong, you know, if I say like Joel Linton's in Argentinian by a slip of the tongue instead of Brazilian, that's going to go viral. I'm going to get rinsed, even though it's a slip of the tongue. You got Jamie Redknapp sat in front of millions of people, slagging off Man United's manager, basically saying he needs to be held accountable now. We need to get on to this manager. We basically need to start the Amorim out movement. And his big example is, look at Eddie Howe at Newcastle. You know, he's got the best out of what he's got. Hold on a minute, mate. And maybe Gary Neville or Daniel Sturridge or the presenter should be footbally intelligently enough to go, hold on a minute. Did you just say Eddie Howe? Yeah. What Eddie Howe, who Saudis took over in October 21, Eddie Howe came in November 21, and in January 22, they spent £100 million to stay up. Oh, that's the same, is it, Jamie? So a rich owner who brought him in and gave him £100 million in his second month in charge, that's getting the best out of a load of shit with no preseason and Manchester United, is it? Oh, okay, yeah. Let's start holding him accountable for completely the opposite situation.
Mate, I totally agree.
And that's on the mainstream, Terry. Like, where is the accountability? Where is the producer going to that presenter? Yeah, Jamie's got that massively wrong. Can you just correct it, Dave? They never didn't do that, did they?
Yeah, you have to. They always leave out the context. And if you actually look at the win rate of Eddie Howe until those signings came in, it weren't too dissimilar from Amorim's. And if we would have signed players of the quality they did in January, you know, if we'd have signed 4 good quality players in January, I think we'd have won more games between now and the end of the season. The fact they're leaving that out is horrendous. But viewers, give us your take on that in the comments section below. Give us your thoughts and give us your opinions. We'd love to hear from you on that. We obviously saw Liverpool crowned as champions of England, which I know, I assume was very painful for you in the same way. This article's come out from Jamie Carragher saying, move over, Sir Alex. There's no denying Liverpool are England's greatest club. There's been a lot of mentions, whether it be from the mainstream media, ex-players like Jamie Carragher on social media, a lot of mentions of Sir Alex Ferguson after this. Feels a bit weird to bring the man who won 13 league titles into this, like his records have been beaten.
Not bad. That's just what I feel like. Not bad. I mean, I'd say it to his face. I mean, at the end of the day, right, when Man United won the treble in 1999, I was living in Ireland. Amazing night, 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 of us left, bottle of whiskey, on the beach, cigars. At no point did I go, have that, Liverpool. They weren't in my head. Like, they just weren't in my head. And we have an amazing rivalry with Liverpool that, unfortunately, throughout my whole life has never married up. The best rivalry I ever saw was Arsenal in the late 90s, and it was amazing between Wenger and Sir Alex. I've never had the fortune of seeing Liverpool and Man United match up for even 2 years. We've just always been like ships crossing in the night. We never dock in the same port. And we are a huge rivalry. But to go after Sir Alex or mention Sir Alex or this, that, and the other, look, when we were winning all those titles, it was satisfying that Liverpool were shit. And I'm sure it's the same for Liverpool fans as well. But I don't really look at Everton's our rival at the moment, not fucking Liverpool. We're awful. And Liverpool have been in that position when we were winning as well. So to talk about the greatest club in English history, I don't actually give a shit. Maybe I'll get to an age when I'm 90, if I'm lucky, and I'll go, we're the greatest club ever. I don't really care. Because Man City have won 8 Premier League titles because they got a rich owner and they were nothing before that. Football is just so transient. It changes so quickly. I respect the rivalry between Liverpool and Manchester United. I respect the fact that Liverpool are the best team in England, and I've adjusted to the fact that we were going to win it from Christmas. But all this greatest club in the world, you know, if that's what gets you excited, Jamie, knock one out. But for me, it just doesn't really resonate that much. I'm not that interested. We've got our own problems.
Listen, I echo that to a degree. I don't like seeing Liverpool win it. It was painful when they did, but I'm very much focused, and maybe it's how I view the world, right? So if I see someone doing well, if I see another YouTuber killing it, my honest thought is always, oh, well done you. Well done you. I'm always very focused on what I'm doing with my businesses, with my family, with my friends. I don't really, I do watch what other people do. Mainly, you get inspiration from it in terms of, wow, look how great you're doing. I remember seeing Kevin Hart. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Kevin Hart, I didn't know this, has a radio station and like a radio show. And he said that when he walked into Joe's studio and the back behind the scenes stuff, he was going, I was in awe of all your equipment and the setup. And he said, but I'm not the kind of man that gets jealous about how much better it is than mine. I go, right, I'm going to go away and improve my stuff. And that's kind of how I view the world. So for me, I'm not annoyed that they're doing it. I'm more looking at my own club. How do we respond? How do we get back to challenging as an example? But there is a part of me in the last 24 hours that's been thinking, it's actually interesting now that they've got to 20 and now we're the greatest. We've overtaken you now. But for the last, up until they got number 20, when we had 20 and they had 18, all right, same amount of Champions Leagues. Even they actually had 5 Champions Leagues. Were they not better anyway? Like, when they had 19, were they not better? That was the argument. That was the argument, right? So when we got to number 20 and we had 3 Champions Leagues and they had 5, they still argued that they were greater than we were, right? Now they're saying, now we're greater. So you are confirming that in 2013 we were greater than you. It just always makes me, you can tell, you wouldn't need to have this vitriol if you genuinely were already greater than us, which is fine. You deserve all the plaudits. You've won number 20. You've got 6 Champions Leagues. I'm taking none of it away from you. But it goes to show for the past 13, 14 years that in every single one of those debates, you weren't telling the truth. You were coping. You were projecting, because now you're saying we are. Well, if you already were, right? If you already were, then why have you got to say it now? But yeah, I just don't like the Sir Alex Ferguson element of it, because Sir Alex Ferguson came in when Man United had 7 league titles, and I think Liverpool had 16. They won 2 titles whilst he was building the club up in the 80s and one in the 89-90 season. And then Fergie went on to win 13 league titles to their 2 in his tenure. 13 league titles to 2. If there's one person that Jamie Carragher should be leaving out of his mouth, it's the man that in his tenure in that rivalry smashed you 13-2. 13-2. It's ridiculous to bring Sir Alex into it. Go after the Glazers, Jamie. Go after INEOS if you want. Go after our recent managers, players, and captains that have been awful for 13 years. How are you attacking the individual? It's like if Man United won 2 or 3 Champions Leagues, my first thought wouldn't be, fuck you, Paisley. Because Paisley's done it. He's achieved it. It's a weird thing to do. A very, very weird thing to do.
I don't think it's resonating with a lot of your chat, which is good. But, there will be people that it does resonate with what Carragher's doing. And basically, I'd put it like this. It's like going to school and Carragher coming up to you and going, my dad's richer than you. And you going, I don't care, Jamie. I don't even know how we're going to pay for dinner tonight. I've got bigger things to worry about. It's absolutely fine if that gets you excited. But even if Man United were the biggest club in the world now, even if I could sit here and say we've won more than Liverpool, it doesn't change the fact we're swimming in the sewers. So it doesn't help me that we're the biggest club in the world, actually. And for Liverpool, I'm not dismissing it. Go and enjoy it. You're the best team in England, and if it makes you the best team in the world, bloody go and enjoy it amongst yourselves. But when you were shit and we were saying we're the biggest team in the world, was that your biggest concern, or was it the fact that you were shit? I, a long time ago, stopped giving a shit about what rivals say about Man United. It just doesn't work. When we get rival fans coming in going, ha, you're shit. I'm like, I know, that's fine. Now I'm going to talk to Man United fans about why we're shit and how we stop being shit. But you coming in and going, ha, you're rubbish. You're absolutely rubbish. Yeah, I know. It's like breaking your leg, isn't it? And someone going, Nelson from The Simpsons, you broke your leg. I fucking know. I can see the bone sticking out. Can someone call me a doctor? You put your clips on TikTok. I'm not bothered. So I respect what Liverpool have done. And if they are the best team in the world, so bloody what? It's not really, like I say, it'd be great if us and Liverpool actually got into a head-to-head rivalry.
I would love a 5-6 year rivalry where both teams were phenomenal. Like they really would. And as I say, they've got 20 league titles. I hate that. I agree with what, and this is the other thing that got to me before we actually talk about Slot and how great they are, is I've always had this one issue with certain Liverpool fans, is that no amount of praise is ever good enough for them. No amount of praise is ever good. You say, Salah's one of the best right midfielders I've ever seen in the league. What do you mean one of the best? Yeah, one of the best. Don't you mean the best? And I always just find it's not all Liverpool fans. It's a subsection, but they're very loud. And you saw it on Sunday. When I saw all the quotes, and then I saw Sky, the Premier League, TNT Sports, all the big aggregator accounts basically say, do you agree with Gary Neville? Are Liverpool now bigger than Man United? And is the debate over? Or they literally quoted it as Gary Neville says the debate has ended. Liverpool are bigger than United. My first thought was, Gary, why'd you say that for? Why even say it? You don't even need to say it. Just congratulate them. Then you listen to it back. And what he said is that they're the most successful team now. And the debate's over for a period. And you just think to yourself, why are Liverpool on such a great day for your club? You can't even take a United legend, a former captain, saying you're more successful and saying the debate's over for a period. That wasn't good enough. You had to extrapolate it and go to, and change it and go to biggest club and the debate's over forever. So you couldn't just take the compliment and go with it. You had to lie, which again sometimes makes you think, what are you exaggerating for? What's the need to exaggerate here? Are you a little bit insecure, maybe?
Where's the cutoff as well? Because I wasn't born in the 60s, so can I get rid of a few of their titles and a few of ours? You know, if you're a chuff monster and you were born in like 1990, do you just count Premier Leagues from there? You know, some of these trophies are going back to before most of us was born, which is why for me it's sort of irrelevant. You know, who's the most successful club in the last 10 years? It's not Liverpool. It's not United. It's Man City. Who's the most successful club in Premier League era? Manchester United. I don't care. If I think it's nice for Liverpool because you are successful and then you can look at your success. But from a Man United point of view, we're so shit. I don't watch MUTV and go, oh, look at that 96 season. Let's sit down and enjoy it. I can't take any pleasure in it. I can't take any pleasure in it because it just makes me even sadder about where we are now.
I hear you. Let's take a little listen here to what they've said on the overlap about Slot's first season in England. Let's take a little listen.
Where does this rank in terms of managers' achievements? Because none of us had Liverpool winning the league, and there are not many people in this country had Liverpool winning the league this year.
You didn't have them in the top five, mate.
I think Mourinho would still probably just rank above it for me in terms of because Chelsea had never won a league title for a long. You know what I mean?
Chelsea this season before had finished second. My point being is Chelsea went and bought, like, we're just spending 30, 40
I mean, Ranieri at Leicester is the top one of all time.
Yeah.
I think to me, Jose and Slot is the one that I'm looking at.
No, I think Slot and probably Wenger winning the double. Even though Wenger come in the year before, but it was halfway through.
It took a couple of years, yeah.
No, it was his first full season.
Yeah, I know, but he was still been in the
Yeah, I get that, but what I'm saying is...
You notice how they're doing first full season for Wenger and they're counting it as a full year, but they won't give Amorim until next season before they start attacking him. Funny that, isn't it?
Arsenal were a team who were finishing 5th and 6th. Yeah. I think Arsenal maybe finished 5th or 6th. Wenger had been there, so okay. But to win the double in his first season, full season, but Slot doing it without so probably Slot might win. Slot will win the league.
I've got him as manager of the year.
I think.
Where do you rank it? Slot's first season in England.
I think it's great, actually. That clip, it sort of absolutely encapsulates the dismissiveness of the Premier League post 2000, and it's amazing because the way Gary Neville dismisses Wenger when he was actually playing for Manchester United, a team that was, without doubt, dominating English football with Sir Alex Ferguson, and a team that had just been rebuilt. You know, you don't win anything with kids in 96, and we won the double. And the class of 92 were getting better and better. Roy Keane was in his prime, and then Wenger comes in and in his first full season wins the double. We dismissed that because, we'd been there for a few months before. I don't think that Wenger first, if we're talking about first full seasons, I think the Wenger one, and there'll be a lot of people in the chat don't want to talk about it because they weren't alive, but what Wenger did to win a double away from that Man United side in his first full season with an Arsenal team that had like Bruce Rioch in charge was absolutely incredible. So I think Wenger cannot be dismissed. I think Jose Mourinho's first season, I remember that, was incredible. They were like a bloody train from the day one. You know, they were just unbelievable. And I think Arne Slot, look, I did a video. I didn't even realize I did a video on That's Football saying why Slot will make Liverpool successful before they'd even kicked a ball. And a lot of people, I don't think Gary Neville had Liverpool in the top 4. And I said, he will make them successful because if you look at the way he plays football and the team he's inheriting, as long as those players buy into his style of football, you don't need transfers because it will work. And I think that's harder than any tactics. Ten Hag came to United with a very good style of system, but the players never wanted to adopt it, so he had to adapt to them. Those Liverpool players took to Slot very, very quickly, and he had the pre-season, and they've won the league at an absolute canter. So, actually, Terry, I don't know what you think. For me, I think it's really difficult to definitively break those 3 stories. I think Wenger winning a double in his first full season against a dominant United Sir Alex side, Mourinho coming in and destroying everybody in his first year, and then Slot doing what he's done. I think they are 3. And I know Ranieri's clearly the best. Is he? Is he really? That was weak Premier League season. It was it was an amazing story.
Yeah.
But it was a shit Premier League. Like
my mind has changed. We spoke about this yesterday morning, I think, on Straight Facts. And since doing it, I've read a lot of the comments from my viewers, obviously, as we do. I've listened to other people talk about it. My mind has been consistently changing because I keep hearing great arguments. So, and this is a slightly different reframing because what we spoke about on yesterday's show was a manager's first season in England. So, for instance, Ranieri wasn't in the conversation because he'd managed before in England. So that was the framing of that question. This is slightly different. If it's your first season with a team, I mean, there'll be another way of phrasing it as well. I saw another account put this as number 1, but it says first season managing in the Premier League. And then I thought, well, then you could throw Sir Alex Ferguson into it because people forget that it is a different competition. The framing's important. But this has been a brilliant campaign. And you, just like myself, I got a lot of abuse, even from Liverpool fans, like the guys that are anti-FSG in the summer, for saying they will challenge for the league title. The only element I got wrong with Liverpool is I just felt because they didn't buy enough, I thought going up against Manchester City, they just wouldn't have enough in the end to get over the line. What I didn't factor in. Yeah, I think I put Liverpool 3rd, but I said they'd be in a title race until pretty late on. What I didn't factor in was City being nowhere near their standard, which I think has helped because you remove that,
no one called that
pressure.
Though,
No one called it. No one called it at all. So I think you made a great point about Wenger in the framing of it this way, because he was up against a team like Man United chasing them to the death as an example. I also think a manager we shouldn't forget about is Premier League and FA Cup winning manager Ancelotti in his first season at Chelsea. That man stopped a 4-peat chasing Man United. And again, they beat us to the league by 1 point. And I suppose we have to weigh it up this way as well. It sometimes looks more definitive when you win a league title at a canter like Liverpool have. At the same time, people disrespect Fergie's final winning Premier League team in 2013 because there was no one good challenging us. So you've got to be, this is my point to Liverpool fans, if this is better than Ancelotti's and Wenger's because you did it with ease, you've all got to rewrite the history again now and prop up 2013 Man United, I think 88, 89 points that smashed everybody to pieces. That's got to go from being one of the worst champions to one of the best as well, right? So for me, I think it's a great argument. But for Slot, I'm going to take nothing away from what he did this year. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Liverpool have been amazing. I think they've been played down. And as much as I can say everything I did earlier about people trying to throw Fergie under buses and stuff and take his legacy away, that won't stop me from praising how good this Liverpool team is. I think they've been phenomenal this season. They deserve all the plaudits. It doesn't matter that City fell off or Arsenal fell off to a degree. Liverpool still delivered. Because if Liverpool were as bad as them, City or Arsenal could have still gone on to win the league. At the end of the day, they were head and shoulders in the end above every other side in England, and they deserve nothing but praise for that, in my personal opinion. It's very hard, though, as you say. One thing I would say about the overlap, and Liverpool fans won't like hearing this bit, but you'll get this in 10 years' time. I've found with it anything connected to Sky, I think one of their briefs that goes out all the time is, as and when we can, we have to say everything's better now than it was. I think that's a way of keeping everybody watching, keeping everybody interested.
100%.
They do that a lot. They do that a lot.
I was going to come back to that. I was disappointed in Gary Neville dismissing the Wenger thing so quickly because I think it's a great testament to Slot that he's in the conversation with Mourinho and Ranieri. But the Wenger one, to me, just shows, it sort of comes back to United, actually. He took the job in October 96, the Arsenal job, which means that his first pre-season was the pre-season. He then went on and won the double. And I don't think that, well, Slot would not have won the title if he took the job in October this year. He had to have that pre-season. And he had the pre-season and they've won the league. So Wenger really, in his first full season, won the double. Because until you've had your pre-season, you can't have your pre-season in January. It doesn't matter whether you start in October or you start in April. You're still in the same position. You've got to have your pre-season. So Wenger's first full season, he won the double. Slot's first full season, he's won the Premier League, breaking the Man City domination. Ranieri obviously won the league with Leicester, and Jose won with his first. I mean, look, to be in that conversation is amazing. But there seems to be an inability to assess pre-2000 in the Premier League. It's like, I call it the Dennis Irwin factor. It's like Dennis Irwin didn't exist, and yet he's arguably the best fullback that ever played in the Premier League.
Mate, I'm glad you said that about Irwin, because this is, whenever you bring this up in a debate, it silences the room, and then people want to like brush over it quickly. This is a right-footed right back who played for a decade at the highest level, winning multiple Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues and trebles and FA Cups, playing left back. Now, listen, I think Ashley Cole, Neville, Walker, Trent, all of them are amazing. But stick them for 10 years on their wrong foot on the opposite side and see if they're rated as the best. It always gets dismissed. One thing for Wenger as well. First season in the Premier League, Arsenal came 10th. I think they came 5th the year later. Then they came 12th. Then they came 5th. The first season he comes in, halfway through the season, as we mentioned, they finished 3rd. First full season, they win the league. This was a team that was underperforming. I think a lot of Arsenal fans don't realize in the early 90s, in the early Premiers, they were a team finishing between 10th and 5th and 12th, like in the first 3 or 4 years. Wenger came in and took them from being an also run to a powerhouse instantly. And what is different, and I'm taking nothing away from Slot, is that is a top-class squad with a great infrastructure. The club had a great culture. The dressing room was great. They've been in title races invariably for the past 5-6 years. That's been into multiple Champions League finals, won multiple domestic trophies. The Liverpool team that Slot inherited was a far superior team in the previous 5 years coming in compared to what Wenger took over. That, for me, based on achievements, is a cast iron fact. So, listen, I'm taking nothing away from Slot, but as I said, I think Sky just like to make everything seem like it's better now than it was.
The way it got dismissed.
Yeah, no,
it was like, but you know, that's what happens. It's like the Premier League started in 92, not 2002.
I hear that. This year from Harold, he says English coaches would never be treated like Amorim by the mainstream media.
No, look at the way they treated Ollie. And he wasn't even English, but he'd played with them. So it's, you know, you don't even need to be English. It's the.
Well, you had Gerrard in the relegation battles, and he wasn't getting criticised. He wasn't getting criticised.
No.
He was crazy. Pep built his own squad. They won the treble and 4 in a row. Yet City spent 150 million in January. They have 200 million they spent, mate. And they have 100 million players on the bench. Nothing he said about Pep. Could he not improve those players? It's such a great point, Patrick. And I think, by the way, Pep's right to buy new players. Pep's done nothing wrong, but it's the duplicity in the analysis. When other managers buy players, nothing he said. The only 2 teams that get criticized for buying players, the Man United and Arsenal. Whenever we want new players, the knee-jerk reaction from rivals and the media is, well, why do you need more? Why can't you improve what you've got? Everybody else, it's seen as normal. You're absolutely spot on. Another little clip here to play. Obviously, a big Champions League night tonight. Arsenal kind of being dismissed again by a lot of people. But I wanted to play this for you and get your reaction to this football fan. I don't know where he's from. I might get in trouble. I think he's German by the accent, but I'm not very good with accents. Let's take a little listen.
With the UCL semi-finals. We have an actual dilemma here, lads. Look, usually no matter if your club is in the Champions League or not, you always have a team where you say, yeah, I kind of root for them. I hope they win it. But here, I hope nobody wins and call the season off, lads. Nah, seriously, I'll run you through my thought process. Arsenal, their fans are already insufferable. Imagine if they actually win the Champions League. No, we cannot let this happen. PSG, they have pretty good ultras, good fan base to be fair. But in my opinion, every real football fan should always be strongly against a state-owned club. And let's be honest, for the memes, they also have to stay on 0 Champions Leagues. Like, we can't possibly rob the iconic Hamburg admin from making these posts, can we? Inter, merda. And finally, Barca. Their online fan base might be the most toxic and the most insufferable on the planet on average. And we won't hear the end of it if they actually win something again. But at the end of the day, they're the only fan-owned club left in the Champions League, run by their socios, which is something I respect way more than having a billionaire owner. I actually think I might have to root for Barca here, guys. But let me know, lads, if you're also not a fan of any of these four, who do you hope wins the Champions League now? There is a...
I would say German with that accent.
100%.
That sounds German.
Even without the accent, you can tell. It's the whole it's the whole fan-owned club thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point.
Shit, mate.
Arsenal dismissed there as, you know, because their fans are insufferable. I see a lot of that. Do you get a lot of that on That's Football, where people are like, I just can't stand Arsenal? Why? They're fans.
I think in the early days when I started doing this, Arsenal fans were insufferable. It was in the days where if you did an online poll, they'd appear in their thousands just to win it. You know, you could say who's the best player out of Ronaldo and I don't know, bloody who's a shit Arsenal player. I'm trying to think. Yeah, but the shit Arsenal player would win. In the last few years, I don't really notice it. I mean, maybe we've blocked most of them. I don't know, but I don't really notice it. Look, if they win a Champions League, they're going to celebrate. They're going to post about it, and they're going to enjoy it, and they're not going to shut up about it. What do you want them to do? Humbly accept winning their first ever Champions League, and we're not going to try and offend anybody? Of course, they're going to do that. So I don't really get this whole insufferable stuff. I just think that we've got, and as for the PSG thing, they shouldn't win it because they're state owned. Are we still doing that? Do we really want to look into the background of every club that you think's not state owned and not funded by money, and your local supermarket and everything like that? Like, come on.
I mean, I will say this. I'm probably going to ruffle a few feathers here. Just go back and look into some of the history of some of the companies who are behind some of the German football teams, like Bayer Leverkusen.
Oh, mate, I think I'm wearing I'm wearing a brand here. I think I'm wearing a brand here, actually, that somebody told me has got links to certain German dictators. So
they made the jumper you're wearing, that cup. They made the uniforms.
Right, you see. But it's 2025, and if it offends anybody, I'm really, really sorry. But it was bought for me at Christmas by McGran, who I think was probably alive during the war on the other side. So
I hear you. It's one of those things. I mean, it's, as you say, when it comes to the sort of the moral posturing, there is that element of how far, like, where's the cutoff point in these sort of conversations. And I saw when I went over to Qatar for the World Cup. In the build-up, people, why are you not slagging it off? And I was just very honest. I went, because if I get the chance to go, I'm going to go. And I don't want to be one of those people that slams it. And then a brand says, we're going to pay you to go over and watch some games. Do you want to go? And then I say, yes, and look an idiot, right? I can't do that virtue signaling nonsense. But I saw it over there. There was all these journalists in the build-up saying how wrong it was. And what they put on for us over there were these amazing parties at night where you would go and they had, like, you went and you didn't know what to expect. And then they had this big stage and all this food and all this alcohol. And then you had like Neo and Usher and all these, you can't even get tickets for them when they're on tour. Suddenly they're there. And there's all the journalists there at the back drinking and eating, listening to Usher, all paid for by the state. And you're like, hang on a minute. A few weeks ago, I read your article where you were saying this is blood money. But now you're here enjoying the alcohol they're paying for you to drink. And I just can't live like that myself. I'm just... Yeah, I can't do the virtue.
It's like one of your moderators says, Ladimus Prime, Terry, German fans can't stand Leipzig. And Leipzig is because it's part of the RB group. So it's not about state ownership. He's definitely German and respect different cultures and diversities. I think in the German football world, they're very proud of their ownership models. But in the Premier League, it's very, very different. And I look at PSG and I go, it was funny that they couldn't win the Champions League with the Qatari money. But actually, I quite like that in the end, they've moved away from the Mbappes and the Neymars and the Messis, and they built a team. And I like the way they play football. So if they win the Champions League, then I don't mind. Barcelona also play good football. Inter Milan are the underdog. And Arsenal, if they win it from a very difficult tournament, then they deserve to win it. I don't look at it and go, you know, the one thing I think I'll find funny is if Barcelona or Arsenal win it and then they're not playing in the Club World Cup. I think that would be hilarious that the best club in the world basically is not going to play in the Club World Cup. So I probably would sway. If pushed, I'd probably say I want Barcelona or Arsenal to win it because I think it'd just be funny that they're not there. But if PSG win it, I think it'd be great for the tournament because of the way they play football. If Inter win it, it'll be a shock. So I don't really care who wins it, really. I know who I think will win it, but I don't really care who wins it.
Yeah. What do you, in terms of this guy, though, I want to show you one other thing that he said, right? Because it's hilarious to me. It just shows perception when he says he thinks Arsenal fans are insufferable, but, and there is a big but here, at the same time, he also believes that Liverpool are the most likable Big Six team in the Premier League by far. Most likable, Liverpool.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, maybe come and spend a few months in the UK. I think Liverpool fans themselves know that Liverpool is almost like its own country. Like they don't really. I know so many Liverpool fans, and I get on with them. They don't like England. Like when England play, they just don't like England. It's Scouse, not English.
Yeah,
so, and they don't care about that. I don't think even people from Liverpool would say we're the most likable. And even as a United fan, hated, adored, never ignored. I don't really care if people like us. It's not, it's not even a bonus.
I agree. Yeah. I think it's a good thing when people don't like you. But how do you think Arsenal are going to get on tonight? How do you think they'll get on against PSG tonight at home?
I think they've got to. Ideally, they've got to win by 2 goals or more, and then they'll go through. They've got to do what they did against Real Madrid. I think if they can overwhelm PSG like Villa did in the second half and get a 2 or 3 goal lead, their defense is so good they'll be through. If they go to Paris with a draw or maybe a 1 goal lead, we've seen what that atmosphere and what they can do there. They can overwhelm teams as well. So I think Arsenal will get a 2 or 3 goal lead and put themselves into the final, really.
Yeah, no, it's gonna. I think they might win 2-1 tonight, Arsenal. It's my gut feeling, which isn't enough to say they're through because it's going to be a tight game. The painful bit for me, I want either PSG or Arsenal to win it. I just want, and purely it's a selfish thing. I know Arsenal winning it means another English team's got it, and I like that club being small. But Chelsea have got 2 now, and City have won it recently. I don't want Barca getting another one. It's another team that pulls further away from our 3. I think it would put Inter on 3 or on 4. I haven't actually looked, but it puts Inter Milan. How many have Inter Milan got? Let's have a little look. Because for me, I always, whenever I want a team to win, I like a team that's never won it to win it because I think it's always it's special to watch in terms of the celebration. So I would prefer PSG over Arsenal, of course. But looking at their, why can't I see?
They've got 3 apparently.
Yeah, 3.
And that's from a Real Madrid fan, yeah.
Yeah, they've got 3. So again, I don't want Inter to win it because then they have 4. They leave Man United behind. So often when it comes to me picking who I want to win things, it's based on like what's best for my club in terms of trophy haul, legacy, etc. But I think Arsenal tonight. I think 2-1. I think 2-1. They'll beat them tonight. I think it'll be a much closer game than we saw. I know Villa came back in that second half against PSG, but I did feel over the 2 90-minute games, I thought PSG were far superior. I don't think you'll see that big of a dichotomy, that big of a difference between these two sides. But I think Arsenal come out on top tonight. I'm not sure. The second leg, I'm not even predicting the result in that yet. Simply, I did a little bit yesterday, but I want to wait and see what they look like tonight, what the injuries are like going into the game a week later. But that will also be really, really close as well. And I think if Arsenal win tonight, I think they'll get themselves through. A draw or a defeat, and I think it'll be too much. I think it's really, really close. I think it's very important for Arsenal to get the win tonight. If they do, I think they'll make the final, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be great to see Arsenal-Barcelona final. I think that would be, a real... was it 2006 as well that happened? So,
yeah.
But on the other hand, if it's not to be an English club in the final, I think there's always a bit of spice if there's an English club in the final being English. But I don't think I want Arsenal to win it. Yeah, I think the Manchester United fan in me kicks in and goes, it's bad enough Liverpool having more than us, but I don't want other teams catching us.
True, very true, very true.
But I think Barcelona PSG would be a good final as well. And the great thing about the final is one game. There's, I don't mind. I think the 2-leg system works before the final, but in the final, that would be a really interesting one. PSG Barcelona.
It's funny if it was Arsenal Barca though. I just got when it. I get where you're coming from, the English club thing, but when it comes to the Europe, maybe it's because Barca beat us in those 2 finals to win 2 trophies. I don't mind seeing Real Madrid win more. For some reason, it doesn't resonate with me. But I hate seeing Barcelona win them. And I don't have any dislike to Barcelona day to day, just in the Champions League. And I think it's because they beat us in 2 finals. It just winds me up watching them win. It really winds me up more than it would. But then I don't know if Arsenal were actually in the final. My mind might, as you say, that the United fan in me, the rivalry we had, might come to the top. But whenever I've seen Barca in finals since they beat us, I've just always wanted them to lose. There's something about them. Because
I remember when Arsenal played them,
I
was very happy when Arsenal had that man sent off and lost. So unless I've changed, I
celebrated that. But I also celebrated, this is what I mean with Barca. And maybe it's this, thinking about it's like a therapy session, Mark. Thank you for helping me with this. I remember the night very well because the night before Man United knocked out Arsenal, and then I went to work. My housemate at the time, my best mate Phil, we both got very drunk watching United Arsenal. He's an Arsenal fan, I'm a United fan. He left for work after me and he forgot to lock the door. And I got home from work that evening. We'd been burgled, and my 2 little kittens got shut in a cupboard. I always remember it. So you don't remember days like that when you come home. And thankfully, though, I was left a ring by my dad, or given a ring by my dad. And as they were leaving the house, they dropped it. It was in the gravel in the front garden. So I got that back, which was nice. So I remember that night and watching and I was in a bad mood and I watched it. And I celebrated all those bad decisions that went in Barcelona's favour against Chelsea. I celebrated the last-minute goal by Iniesta, only to watch us be completely outclassed by Barca in the final. And it was like it was just like a dry slap in the face, almost like actually I think we'd have beaten Chelsea because I think we were close in 2008 as a team. But I think we were better than them in 2009. And we would have probably gone back to back. But that's just, maybe it's that with Barcelona, like me celebrating them sort of cheating Chelsea out of it just for them to obliterate us in that final.
I was the same, mate.
Yeah,
that Chelsea were robbed that night to a horrible extent, but I enjoyed it. Because I didn't want to play Chelsea in the final. But in hindsight, we'd have had a better chance against Chelsea. But
no, I agree. I've changed on that as well, though. I used to love watching teams get screwed over by refs. I'm completely in the last 5-6 years, maybe just as I've got older and I've matured. I think doing this job's changed me as well because I spend a lot of time talking to fans. You listen to more. I think I've learned more about football in the last decade. And there's something about it now that just irks me. And maybe it's because VAR's come in and VAR was meant to stop all those things happening. If that makes sense.
The turning point on that for me was when Liverpool's goal against Spurs wasn't given. And I don't like Liverpool. They're my biggest rival. But when I saw it, I was just like, fundamentally, maybe it is a growing up thing. I was like, it's funny because it's Liverpool, but ultimately there's a bigger play here. It's shocking officiating and it needs calling out. And, we're still getting it now. And I think a lot of football fans have become more reasoned when it comes to officiating because we're all victim of it and we see it all the time.
No, I totally agree. Viewers, I want to thank you all for tuning in today. Please make sure that you hit the like button before you go. Get yourself subscribed as well. Busy day ahead, Mark?
Yeah, well, I've got to do. I'm previewing the Bilbao game on the United stand at 2, and then tonight's the watch along for That's Football for PSG and Arsenal. I know you've got your after show as well.
Yeah, so we're live at 3:30 for Straight Facts with LB and Henry Wright, looking ahead at tonight's game and the Barca Inter game tomorrow as well. So make sure you're all back here. Go watch Goldbridge at 2. Come back here for 3:30 when we're going to be live, and then match reaction tonight for Arsenal PSG. It's going to be a big one. Mark, always a pleasure to sit and speak.
No, I really enjoy it. I love looking at all these clips. So really enjoy it. Thanks for having me on.
Lovely. Everyone who's tuned in, I want to thank you all. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you again soon. Peace.